Brahmanas represent the face of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas represent the arms, the Vaishyas represent the thighs, and the Shudras represent, or they have been generated from the feet of the Lord. You find this in Purusha Sukta, you are seeing this in Bhagavatam, and I think such references are there in several other places as well. So this description is not very easily understood by many people. Whenever there is a controversy in terms of Brahminical domination or the caste system being used as an exploitative method or being used as a power center, so people who are against the conception of the Varnashrama, they quote this reference. So they say that as per the Vedas, the Shudras are in a lower position than the Brahmanas, and using these kind of references, the other communities have been oppressed by the so-called upper classes. So why is this misconception coming? This misunderstanding is there for two reasons. One is, actually it is only one reason, that the people have forgotten the purpose for which these four classes are created. Not only those who are, people who are not following the system, of course, they are in complete ignorance, but people who claim to be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and are propagators of the Varnashrama Dharma also have forgotten the purpose of this Varnashrama Dharma. So it is true that people who are propagating this Varnashrama Dharma, many of them, still believe that they are superior to the other classes based on a birthright or because of the occupation that they are doing. And not only that, they have forgotten the real purpose for which this categorization is created. What is the duty that I have to perform as a Brahmana? What is the duty that I have to perform as a Kshatriya? This is being forgotten. So here it is clearly described that all these four categories, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, they are the part of the Virat Purusha. And it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifices with feasible goods to appease the Lord. So the functional principle behind this categorization, when that is forgotten, then what is happening? This arrangement is reduced to a tool for sense gratification. The purpose of this categorization is not one of sense gratification. The purpose is how efficiently one can serve the Lord. This is the purpose for this categorization, because in this material world when we come, we are under the influence of different gunas, different qualities. And this Varnashrama system is made so that irrespective of whatever quality we are born with, because of our material desires, because of our past activities, a system has been created that every person, irrespective of his quality, can be engaged in serving the Lord. Because that is our constitutional position. The living entity can only be happy if he is engaging himself in the service of the Lord. So while we all might be forgetful of our real position, that we are not the body, we are the soul, we are forgetful of this identity, the Vedic culture was so constructed that even though somebody is forgetful of this identity, simply by being part of this Varnashrama system, he can make spiritual progress. Simply by carrying out his assigned duty, he can make spiritual progress, because that society was created with Krishna in the center. This is the core of the Varnashrama system. This is the spirit, this is the essence of this Varnashrama system. But gradually over a period of time, what has happened? Krishna has disappeared from this Varnashrama system. We understand from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Vishnu Purana, that the purpose of Varnashrama Dharma is Haritoshanam, the satisfaction of Lord Krishna. When that is no longer there, then this varnashrama system has become a tool for sense gratification. Because if you see all these arguments of proponents for the varnashrama system and against the varnashrama system, what is the basis, underlying basis of all these arguments? It is in defense of their sense gratification. Somebody who's a so-called Brahmana, he is asserting his superiority because he does not want his sense gratification to be affected if this varnashrama system breaks down. And the lower class or the Shudras, why they are contesting against this varnashrama system? Because they are seeing that their ability to gratify their senses is limited by this varnashrama system. So therefore, any system, however perfect it might be in material terms, actually the arrangement of varnashrama is still continuing. Based on our qualification only today we are getting jobs, people are doing their different vocations because of the certain quality that they have. So in one way, varnashrama system is still continuing. Though not the birth-based varnashrama system, the occupation-based varnashrama system is continuing. But the center of such a system continues to be one of sense gratification. Correct? A laborer is doing labor work, not because he wants to satisfy Vishnu. He is doing works because that is the only work he knows, and he is thinking by earning that much money, he can gratify his senses. The businessman, he is starting a startup, he is getting into business, he is trying to expand his business, not because he wants to engage all this in Vishnu's service, but because he wants to enjoy the results of such business for his sense gratification. The administrators are organizing things in such a nice way, not because again they want to satisfy the Lord, but because they are enjoying that power. Oh, I am managing, I am administering, I am the Lord of so many people, and therefore they are taking pleasure in that sense gratification. So when this is happening, what is happening is there is a continuous strife, there is a continuous fight for resources between the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and the Shudra. You see that there are so many strikes, there are so many lockouts. We are seeing in several countries the citizens revolting against the administration. The working force are striking against the business class. In many temples there is fight. Why only the Brahmana should be allowed to go inside and do puja? Why I should not do puja? All this is happening. Why? Because everybody has forgotten the center of this varnashrama system. Everybody is only trying to see what is there in this for me. How can I gratify my senses through this system? And therefore, when this is happening, whatever system we are creating, whether it is the birth-based varnashrama system or whether it can be an occupation-based varnashrama system, it is bound to crash. And that is what is happening now. So, the source of all this problem, as we have seen, is this forgetfulness of Krishna in the center. So then what happens? Many people, they are seeing that this material world is working in such a way, everybody is working towards sense gratification. And then at some point of time, it results in frustration. That, we are trying to satisfy our senses, or we are helping so many people to satisfy their senses. We are trying to help the entire world satisfy their senses, but it is not happening. And some intelligent people then realize that maybe sense gratification is not the solution to all problems. And then what do? They say that we have to renounce this world. Everything which is there in this world is an illusion. We can never be happy by trying to satisfy our senses, which is partially correct. Yes, you cannot be happy simply by trying to satisfy your senses. But can you experience happiness simply by renouncing everything? That is also not possible. So, this philosophy of either trying to completely achieve happiness by completely gratifying one's senses, for which people are approaching sometimes even different devatas and approaching them to satisfy their desires, or this endeavor to completely give up of or give up material life and consider that everything that is there in this world is only an illusion, and renouncing everything is basically Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai, Krishna Balaram ki, Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So both these extremes are being described as oscillating between bhoga and tyaga. Bhoga means sense enjoyment and tyaga means renunciation. Both these things cannot give us happiness. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita about sense enjoyment, yehi samsparshada bhoga dukkhayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. That a person who tries to experience happiness by contact of the senses with the sense objects, he can never be happy, because ultimately it will give him only unhappiness. Dukkhayonaya evate, because adya antavanta kaunteya. It has a beginning and an end. We all want unlimited happiness, but this unlimited happiness we cannot get by sense gratification. So this system of trying to gratify our senses unlimitedly is going to fail. At the same time, we desire happiness. That is the nature of the spirit soul. It wants activity, it wants happiness, it wants relationships. So even though we might renounce sense gratification for some time, again we will come back to sense gratification, because we want some happiness, we want some experience. So this kind of renunciation, where we give up material objects as illusory, is described by us as, by the Goswamis, as Falgu Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya means very shallow renunciation. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this Falgu Vairagya is nicely described by Rupa Goswami as Prapanchikataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha Mumukshubhi Parityago Falgu Vairagya Muchyate. What it means is Prapanchikataya Buddhya. Prapanchikataya Buddhya means you are seeing so many things in this material world which are Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha. These Vastu, or these things, have a relationship with Hari, relationship with Krishna. How do they have a relationship? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu Khammano Buddhirevacha Ahankaramiti Yamme Bhinna Prakriti Rashtada. Correct? So Krishna has clearly established in the Bhagavad Gita that all these material elements that we see in this world, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, these are all the elements with which everything around us is being made. Krishna is saying, Bhinna Prakriti Rashtada. These are all my Bhinna Prakriti. So Rupa Goswami is saying, these are Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha. All these things which you are seeing in this world, this door, this floor, this TV, this camera, this mic, all of this have a relationship with Hari. But if you think Prapanchikataya Buddhya, if you have a material conception, if you are not seeing these things in connection with Hari, then what are you doing? Prapanchikataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha Mumukshubihi Parityago. Mumukshu means a person who is seeking liberation. So far what this person has been trying to do, he has been trying to use all these elements, this Bhinna Prakriti of Krishna, for his sense gratification. He is thinking how I can use this camera for my sense gratification, how I can use this mobile for my sense gratification, how I can use this house for my sense gratification. Everything that he is seeing around himself, he is attempting to use it for sense gratification. And when he is frustrated, what is happening? He is becoming a mumukshu. And what does he do? Mumukshubhi parityago. This person is saying, I am renouncing this. I am renouncing this house. I am renouncing my relatives. I am renouncing my family. I am renouncing my wealth. Everything I am renouncing. But this, Rupa Goswami is saying, is Falgu Vairagya. This is very, very shallow renunciation. Why is this shallow? Because actually, in reality, nothing belongs to us. Prabhupada gives a nice example. He said, suppose a person goes in front of Bank of America and he says, I am renouncing this Bank of America. What will somebody say? They will say he's a mad person, correct? Or very simply, suppose you bring your car here and then I say I have renounced this car. That car doesn't belong to me. How can I renounce it? So when this understanding is not there, that all this property belongs to Krishna, and I am saying I am renouncing all this, it is called Falgu Vairagya, or very shallow renunciation. So this renunciation also, this is coming out of a wrong understanding. Wrong understanding or ignorance of the fact that everything belongs to Krishna. So sense gratification also is happening when we are ignorant that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, and Falgu Vairagya also is happening when we forget that everything is coming from Krishna and therefore is meant for his enjoyment. So then what is the right process? How does one approach this entire system of Varnashrama? How does one approach all these material resources which are there in this world with which we have to deal with? That is the process of Yukta Vairagya, which our Acharyas have recommended. And this Yukta Vairagya also is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, where he says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. So what does this mean? Anasaktasya Vishayan. Again the word Vishayan is used. Vishayan is again all the material elements with which we are all surrounded by. Anasakta. That is, we are not attached to all these things for our sense gratification. We are seeing this mobile, we are seeing this mic, we are seeing a camera, we are seeing the vehicles, we are seeing so much of technology, big infrastructure, so many things we are seeing so much of wealth. But when we are seeing all this, we are not attached to it for our sense gratification. A true yogi, he does not think, how I can use all this for my sense gratification. Anasaktya se vishayan. But what is he thinking? Yatarham upayunjataha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe. How I can use all these things in connection with Krishna. This is how a truly realized person sees. Like Prabhupada says, when somebody sees a flower, a materialist, he sees, such a beautiful flower. Let me just smell it. Let me just keep it in my hair. This is how a materialist will think. But when a person who's completely realized, what does he do when he sees the same flower? He says, this flower is looking so beautiful. It has got such nice fragrance. Let me use it in Krishna's service. Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha. Krishna Sambandha. He's seeing these things in connection with Krishna. So, the right approach one has to take is to use everything in Krishna's service. So, this comes from an understanding. First of all, one has to understand that everything that is there in this material world is coming from Krishna, and therefore, there is nothing that belongs to me. If it doesn't belong to me, I can neither enjoy it, nor can I renounce it. Then what is it that I should do? I have to use it in Krishna's service. So the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness is based on this principle of Yukta Vairagya, and that principle only is being explained by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. He is saying here about the sacrifice that has to be performed to the Virat Rupa, where in the verse Shukadeva Goswami is saying, it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifices with feasible goods to appease the Lord. And this point Prabhupada is explaining in this purport, that sacrifice by every one of them is who? The Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Shudras, who are all part of this material world and who are all dealing with all these vastus, correct? They are dealing with this world. So what is recommended? The duty of all of them, the sacrifice by each one of them, in terms of pleasing the Lord by feasible goods is recommended. And how this sacrifice has to be performed in today's times is being explained by Prabhupada here. He says, generally the sacrifice is offered with clarified butter and grains. Correct? So this is the general understanding of what sacrifice has to be performed. We bring some grains, we bring some butter, so many dravyas, we perform a homa and we offer it in that. But with the progress of time, human society has produced varieties of goods by transforming materials supplied by God's material nature. So, so-called economic advancement, it has reduced the value of these commodities. Srila Prabhupada explains that in the Vedic times, a person was considered rich based on how many cows he has got, how much land he has got, and how much gold he has got. Correct? But today, a person's wealth is measured by so many other things. In the name of economic development, so many things we have produced. So Prabhupada is saying that what we should do when such things have changed. With the progress of time, human society has produced variety of goods by transforming materials supplied by God's material nature. Human society, therefore, must learn to offer sacrifices not only with clarified butter, but also with other manufactured goods in the propagation of the Lord's glory. And that will bring about perfection in human society. So Prabhupada is saying, whatever goods are being manufactured, iPhones, cars, aeroplanes, mobile phones, online studios, YouTube, everything, big technology, steel, cement, structural designing, what all is coming, everything has to be used in the service of the Lord. And this will bring about what? Perfection in human society. Generally when sacrifice people, we call people, sometimes people invite, no? They perform sacrifice at home. Generally what happens, we have observed, because in our house also we used to do. When Pujari will come, we will give him ghee, grains and all, he will be performing sacrifice. And all the members of the family, what they will be doing? They'll be sitting with their cell phones. They will be seeing something in their cell phones. Or inside, in the another room, TV will be there, some cricket match will be coming, everybody will be seeing. So what is happening? Rice, grains, ghee, they are used for sacrifice. All other things are used for sense gratification. So the idea is, we offer some ghee, we offer some sugar, whatever dravyas we offer, Lord will be happy. He will give us more TV, more houses, more cars, more mobile phones, so that we can gratify our senses. This is the understanding of today's yajna, so-called Varnashrama system. But what Prabhupada is saying is, whatever things we are manufacturing, new things, we have to see how all these things can be used in the Lord's service. This is real sacrifice. The intelligent class of men or brahmanas may give direction for such sacrifices in consultation with the previous acharyas. So who are these brahmanas? We are the brahmanas. Because we are learning from our acharyas. We are learning from Prabhupada, we are learning from Goswami, what is Yukta Vairagya. So we have to educate people and give direction as to how these sacrifices may be performed. So we educate people that you have so much money, why don't you contribute? And we will use all this wealth in Krishna's service. And then the administrators may give all facilities to perform such sacrifices. So the administrators, the government, they have to give us permission. Yes, this temple has to be constructed. Propagation of Krishna consciousness is going on. This is done for the satisfaction of the Lord. So they have to give us planning permission. They have to give us electricity connection. They have to give us water connection. They have to ensure that the traffic around this place is all good. So the administrators also being engaged. The administrators may give all facilities to perform such sacrifices. The Vaishya class or mercantile community who produce such goods may offer them for sacrifice. So all these people who are earning so much money by manufacturing so many goods, either they can give all those goods, like somebody is manufacturing televisions, they can give it to us. Somebody is manufacturing steel, cement, all that can be engaged in the service of the Lord. And the Shudra class may offer their manual labor for the successful termination of such sacrifice. So this is the formula which is being given by Srila Prabhupada. Thus, by the cooperation of all classes of human beings, the sacrifice recommended in this age, namely the sacrifice of congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, may be executed for the common welfare of all the people of the world. So, this we saw how Prabhupada practically demonstrated. Correct? When we see Prabhupada's life, we see how he engaged all resources, all categories of people. Somebody would have Brahmana quality, somebody would have Kshatriya quality. He told them, okay, you manufacture agarbattis, spiritual sky, incense business, make a big business, earn a lot of money, and help in constructing of temples and publishing of books. Somebody was very, very scholarly. He engaged them in translating his books. Then he engaged all the topmost technology to ensure that the printing of books happens fast. He used the dictaphone so that he could, translate more books, and an entire system of, typing that and then printing that, all that was created. So Prabhupada practically demonstrated how, without renouncing all these things, because the civilization was making so much progress, Prabhupada was engaging all this in Krishna's service. He was traveling by flight, which was uncommon for sannyasis those days. He crossed the seas. Because the essence behind all this, Prabhupada knew. Essence is to please Krishna. So this, because Prabhupada was cognizant of, he expertly used everything in Krishna's service, and therefore everything became spiritualized. People's qualities, their Brahmana qualities became spiritualized, their Kshatriya qualities became spiritualized, because everybody was engaged in satisfying the Supreme Lord. So this principle of Yukta Vairagya is what will give us perfection. And this is superior either to sense gratification or to mere renunciation. So this philosophy of Krishna consciousness or Yukta Vairagya is the highest principle which is propounded by the Goswamis and our Acharyas. So while this Yukta Vairagya principle may be the topmost principle, it is not easy. It is actually very, very difficult. Because at several places Prabhupada points out that when we are dealing with things in this material world, if we are not Krishna conscious, then there is a very big danger of us again getting back into the cycle of sense gratification, and or we become frustrated by engaging, using all these things in Krishna's service without being conscious of Krishna, and therefore renouncing. We say, you know, all these material things are a matter of botheration. Let me simply give all this and just do my japa somewhere or all that. So if our Krishna consciousness is not strong, then it is very difficult to practice this Yukta Vairagya. There are some excerpts by Prabhupada in this connection. I will just read some portions. So at one place, Prabhupada is telling that this is about temple construction. He says, we are exerting so much energy to construct a temple, but as soon as we become implicated, now I have got this big building, let me live very comfortably, then it is very dangerous. So long we work for Krishna, it is Krishna's, I am still nothing. And as soon as I take it, oh, now I have got very good comfortable place, make me again something, that is very dangerous. Otherwise, there is no danger. Therefore, we have to be engaged always in Krishna's service. Not that because we have got this nice building and income also, let us sit down and eat. Then you'll stop. You shall have to be engaged always, because our brain is materialistic. As soon as there is a little chance of utilizing for sense gratification, mind, yes, do it. Still we have to do it. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshubi parityago falgu vairagyam katyate. Things which are connected to Krishna, you should never think that is material, it is spiritual. At another place, there is a conversation where Prabhupada says, Gurudas is saying, Subal Maharaj was joking with me that I am wanting to preach, but instead I am thinking about steel and cement and bricks. Prabhupada, no, if that steel, cement and bricks are meant for preaching, then it is all right. So if one is trying to get a lot of bricks, cement and steel, and is constantly thinking that this is for preaching purpose, then Prabhupada says it is all right. But if there is difficulty, then sometimes we become absorbed in steel, cement. Steel, cement is not bad, provided it is meant for preaching. That is also spiritual. But because we are materialistic, sometimes steel and cement attracts us more than Krishna. So many times this happens. You know, some service is so nice, or you know, we want a certain this thing. Then what happens is we become attached to a certain kind of thing. So what happens? Somebody is interested only in doing Brahmana work. Somebody is interested only in doing Kshatriya work. Somebody becomes interested in being a Shudra or Vaishya. Why? Because we have forgotten Krishna. We have become more attracted to being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or a Shudra. Or we have become more attracted to a certain Vastu than being attracted to Krishna. So Prabhupada has summarized this very nicely in one sentence where he says, what is the difference between matter and spirit? In one sentence Prabhupada says, matter means where there is no Krishna sensation. That is matter. And as soon as there is Krishna sensation, it is spirit. Very simple. So whenever we are dealing with something, if that Krishna sensation is not there, that means we should understand that we are still dealing with matter. That is, we are continuing to get implicated. But when the consciousness is there, when that Krishna consciousness is there, when we are seeing that I am doing this for Krishna's pleasure, then it is completely spirit. So while Yukta Vairagya means, yes, we have to deal with Vastu, we have to deal with material objects, but if this Krishna consciousness is not there, then again we become implicated. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is that we should never think of ourselves as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Naham varni na chagrahapatir, napi vaishyo na shudro, Naham varni na chagrahapatir, napi vaishno na shudro. I forget that verse. Kintu prodayan nikala purnamrutabder, gopi bartu padakamalayur, dasa dasanu dasaha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that I am neither a Kshatriya nor a, I don't belong to any of the four varnas. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya, I am not a Shudra. And neither do I belong to any of the four ashramas, which is Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyasa. Then what is my position? I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. This is my position. So this is what Prabhupada is calling the Krishna sensation. That I should always be cognizant of this fact that I am none of this. Even though I am dealing with so many things, I am performing so many roles, I am none of this. I am only a servant of Krishna. So whatever role I am in, whatever vastu I am dealing with, I should do that for Krishna's pleasure. That is how we will be able to do anything, we will be able to engage with any object and get liberated. And this we see in the life of Prabhupada. What all activities Prabhupada performed, he was doing menial work. You know, after people would eat, hippies would come and eat, he would wash the place. He would personally cook for these people. He used to do deity worship. He was such an expert administrator. How he created this entire institution. He was expert in collecting money. He created so many business enterprises. He demonstrated how to establish a Varnashrama community, farm communities. Prabhupada was able to do all this because he knew that he is neither a Vaishya, nor a Grihastha, nor a Vanaprastha, nor a Sannyasa. He was none of this. But he could play any role because he knew his constitutional position. He was aware of his constitutional position. So, in Yukta Vairagya, this is very, very important. And that is why Prabhupada not just engaged everybody in service, but he gave us a program by which we can be Krishna conscious always. And what was that program? That program is our morning program, where he expected devotees to come early morning, attend the Mangalarti, chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then Darshanarti, then Guru Puja, then listening to Bhagavatam, listening to Bhagavad Gita, and reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada was very, very particular about this. There were several instances when devotees would be so busy in service that they would not do sadhana, and Prabhupada would get very, very furious on them. I think we all know this situation in this instance where devotees were distributing so many books, and they used to report to Prabhupada, so many books we have distributed. So then it so happened Prabhupada asked, are you reading my books? Then they said, no Prabhupada, we have not read these books. Then Prabhupada became very furious on them. He said, I have not written all these books simply to sell. These are meant for reading. So even distributing Srila Prabhupada's books without reading them, it will not take us anywhere. We cannot become Krishna conscious by not reading Srila Prabhupada's books, but still distributing Prabhupada's books. It is not possible. So the fundamental foundation for practicing this Yukta Vairagya or Krishna consciousness is the sadhana program that Srila Prabhupada has given. Only if we are strong in our sadhana, strong in our reading, only when this background understanding is sufficient, then what happens is we can enthusiastically perform our devotional service in the right consciousness. Otherwise, there is a danger that we become attached to a certain kind of service, or we become tired of that service. We start doing it very mechanically. This happens with all of us because our sadhana or that Krishna sensation which Srila Prabhupada is talking about is not there. So what we understand from today's verse is that this Yukta Vairagya, that this understanding, this knowledge, that all this arrangement in this material world, whether it is the material objects, the vastus which are there, or this categorization of the entire human society into different varnas, all this is meant for Krishna's pleasure, and the right approach in dealing with all this categorization of the human society or dealing with these things in this material world is to engage it in Krishna's service by being Krishna conscious always. So these are some of the points from today's verse. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.